This is Moneyline Mania with Jazz and the crew.
We're in an unbelievable movement when it comes to this tournament. Duke's still in it. UNC still in it. Then you have Villanova on the other side, Kansas, Houston, and St. Peter's. It's unbelievable. Those are the 6 teams that really stick out to me. Obviously, there are other teams still in this tournament, but those are the 6 teams that really are the front runners to get into that Final Four. But why not get into the conversation with the picks, the money lines, and everything with Chaz? What's going on, Chaz?
Everybody that I know is a Peacock fan. Peacock fans are coming out of the work.
Everybody's a Peacock fan.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. I've never heard of the school, and now everybody's talking about St. Peter's. My son, who's a pretty good basketball fan, texted me that it was National Peacock Day, and they were playing, and they keep getting points. We talked about it, Jonathan, when they were getting 9.5. Who's going to not take 9.5? Then they're getting 13. Now they're getting 8. I mean, it's just crazy.
I took Purdue yesterday. I honestly thought the run was over. Got bit back by the Peacocks, and I'm happy I still had a winning day. I went 2-1. I just honestly does not think that run was going to keep going, but they got guys like Banks and Eddard, and every time they need a shot, this team is making them. I was telling somebody the other day, I don't think the shots that they made against like Murray State, when Murray State was coming back, anytime they needed a shot, Eddard made it. Step back 3, drop. Any other situation in the regular season, he's not making those shots. But right now, they're just unstoppable. Everything they hit, they're making. They need a bucket, they make a bucket. They need a stop, they get a stop. It's a crazy, crazy run. I don't know how much longer it's going to go, but it's a crazy, crazy run.
I thought they were going to get screwed over by the refs because there was a traveling call they didn't call at the very end, and it turned out to be a 3-point play. I'm like, okay, here it comes. I'm a soccer guy, so I know when refs are going to be screwing you over. And then after that, they went on that run, so I'm glad for St. Peter's, dude. I'm happy.
I also think that when you look at the big picture, if St. Peter's wins the national championship, John, you were saying it before we came into the segment, that this could be the greatest seeded position team to go all the way, and really one of the greatest sports stories of all time. So when you look at what St. Peter's has done, I didn't expect them to be where they are. And I don't think anybody did. You were talking about somebody on Twitter that had them all the way to the national championship or something like that. He's right now up 150,000 or something like that.
Well, that's what it pays.
It's a lot of money up there. Besides Murray State is that mid-major program that had a great year. But if you look at who they're going to beat on the way to a national championship, you're looking at Kentucky, blue blood program, Purdue, a big-time program. North Carolina will be a big blue blood program. Duke, if they get past North Carolina. You're looking at they're going to be 4 or 5 big blue blood programs, and whoever gets out on the other side. So if they win, which is very highly unlikely, but if they do, it would top almost like the Miracle on Ice. Like it would be this kind of big underdog making the unthinkable happen.
Talk about playing with house money right now, dude.
Advertisers on that Monday game, if they make it to the final, it doesn't matter what happens. If they make it to the final and you're advertising on that game, you're getting a good deal for your advertising buck because people eyeballs are going to be on that screen.
Hector, you mentioned play with house money. Their attendance in their home opener in the regular season was 434 people.
How many do they have watching the game?
They had more people like cheering him at the gymnasium the other day.
It's their whole student section. It's like everyone's there. Pretty much every student that's there is just packed into that gym.
Jonathan made a good point, though, guys. When you're talking about sports betting, you have to look at numbers, right? And it's all about numbers, but you got to be careful, and you can't look at the wrong numbers. So when you look at a team over a season and you got averages for, rebounds, points allowed, shooting percentage, whatever your number is, it doesn't matter. You got to say, how much of that do I use here in the dance, and how much do I say, I'm going to let that go? And for me, I'm not focusing on St. Peter regular season. I'm focusing on their numbers the last 3 games. So everybody that I'm going to talk about today, I'm breaking it down. This is what I've got now. Doesn't matter what I had in the conference tournament. Doesn't matter what I had during the regular conference season. This is what I got now. That's what I'm betting my money on, what I got now.
So why don't we get into it? We get into the tournament, the game. Speedy, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go.
The first game is the aforementioned Arkansas versus Duke game.
Remember how important this play is, because this is your seed money. This is what I call your 103.9 seed money. Now, do we give you winners every single week? No. But usually we do, and then you could take that money. You can maybe parlay it with some stuff for Sunday that we're going to talk about. I know last week, I hit my first 3 bets, and I hit my first 3-teamer. And once you start playing with house money, I ended up going 3-3 on my game picks, but I ended up winning for the day, and it's because how I bet. It's not necessarily who you bet, it's how you bet. I'm telling you right now, this game is exciting for me for a couple reasons. One is, of course, Coach K, right? Nice. How would you not get emotional? Can Duke and St. Peter's play? That would be like the trinity of an NCAA championship.
The perfect spoiler to the dream Duke-UNC matchup. Leave it to 15-seeded St. Peter's.
Here's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing Duke is shooting really, really well. I like Duke here. Remember, this game is going to start. It's -4. It's going to start. Pay attention to this game. If the game comes down to the end of the game, I got to have my money on somebody. I'm going to have my money on Coach K. I mean, he was going for, 101 tournament wins. So I would really like to get this money line. There's a lot of points to me, but I'm going to have a little bit of that. I'm probably going to have a little money line. I'll tell you.
I think it's like -190.
So one of the bets that I do, I put $190 down on Duke. And then I also bet $75 on Duke, -4. So as long as they win the game, I make a couple bucks. If they cover, I look like a genius. That's my play.
It's so interesting because when you look at this tournament, any team that is up a significant amount of points going into the second half usually has won. It's been a crazy, crazy tournament. If you're within 5 points going into the second half, especially Duke. If Duke is down going into the second half, I still think Duke could win. If they're down by 9 or 10 points going into the second half, they're going to lose. I think if this game is close, it is positioned for Duke to win this game. So I think if the game is close going into the second half, I pick Duke. I think Duke goes to the championship. If they beat Arkansas, they go to the Final Four. Whoever they play, UNC, St. Peter's, they're going to beat them. Duke wins this game, especially if the game is close. Coach K in this tournament, every single game that has been close, even with Michigan State, they should have lost that Michigan State game, but they were down by 4 or 5 with 2.5 minutes left. And who are you going to bet on? You going to bet on Izzo or you going to bet on Coach K? Coach K has won 5 national championships. This could be his 6th. Everybody knows I'm a Duke fan. I would love to see him fly or run or whatever you want to say, move into the dust of retirement. I'm not excited about Coach Shire, that's for sure. But to at least have the experience to see another national championship before Coach Shire takes over and absolutely ruins this team.
I'm going to have to hop on and be a complete opposite of you guys. I think St. Peter's has done something for Arkansas that nobody's talking about. They're not talking about Arkansas. And what Arkansas has done has been nothing short of incredible. They beat the number 1 scoring team in Gonzaga. They handled them wire to wire. I think they were down 22-17. Once it took the lead, that was it. Musselman is a really, really good coach. Arkansas has not been a back-to-back Sweet 16 since the mid-90s. He's took them back-to-back Elite 8s in 3 years there. He's been to the Sweet 16 3 years in the last 5, because remember, he took Nevada there. He's been to the tournament every year for the last 5-6 seasons that he's coached. He is a really good coach. One thing about him, sometimes his teams tend to start slow. They're never out of it. They were down 22 to Cincinnati when he was at Nevada, came all the way back to win that game. They were down 26 to Tennessee, come back, they lose by 4. They were down against Gonzaga, came back and won that game. He's a really good coach. One thing I can say right now is if you're looking at just numbers and who's covering, Arkansas is covering. Duke is not. Duke is 2-7 in the last 9 against the tournament team, 2-7 in the last 9 against the team with a winning percentage of .600, 2-5 the last 7 overall, and that was the last 2 games. They had lost 5 ATS covers before that. You look at Arkansas, they had a bad loss to Hofstra. Since then has won 18 of 21 games, including beating Kentucky, including beating Tennessee once, including beating Gonzaga. They've covered 15 of the last 21 games. On the season, they're covering at a 63% clip. This team is a team that I think is not getting talked about, and I get it. You're going to get shadowed by Coach K and the greatness that he's brought to Duke. I think that this is going to be an Arkansas game where they, I think, could win the game on the court, keep it close enough. I think J.D. Note hasn't even had a great tournament game, and he's their star. And they've still been able to control and win these games. I think Arkansas is going to stay within the number. They're going to take down Duke, and it's going to keep it at least within a +4. So for me, I'm going to hammer Duke. That is my personal biggest bet that I put on this tournament is going to be on Arkansas tonight.
Hector,
I don't want to be the party pooper here. That almost convinced me. And I'm not a Duke fan. I hate the evil empire. All evil empires from every sport.
You hate the Yankees, man, Hector? I'm starting to hate you now, Hector.
I liked them when they had Rivera. When they had Mariano Rivera, I still like them. But yeah, man, I think Duke's got too much firepower. I think this is meant to be a Final Four between North Carolina and Duke, finally. I love Cinderella stories, Arkansas, St. Peter's, and soccer. I love them. North Macedonia beating Italy, and they were like super underdogs. Now they got one step away from making the World Cup. In terms of basketball, I think just the Coach K thing, I think they're an overall complete team. And yeah, in terms of the point spread, I'm iffy on the point spread, that's for sure. I think it'll come down to the wire.
Yeah.
I think the experience of Coach K, and I think Arkansas has done such a great job. I don't think we're going to have two St. Peter's stories this year. I think it's going to be Duke all the way.
So while they were talking, guys, I came up with a name for that wager. I've always had that wager, but I've never called it anything. But because it's part money line, part point spread, I'm going to call it Money Line Mania Special. So when I say to you, going forward for any game for the next forever years, that's a Money Line Mania Special to me. You know that I'm betting a whole unit on the money line and 3/4 of a unit on the point spread this way, as long as they win the game. Now, can you lose both of them? It's called gambling, Einstein. Figure it out. Of course you can lose both. But what Jonathan said, I listened to. So what I'm going to do with this game, I'm going to pay attention. Remember, this is happening right as we get off the air. If Arkansas does get down big, I'm going to hop on Arkansas. Maybe I'll have a situation where I have a middle. When you have a middle, you have both teams or two different bets.
Take it. If you have it, take it.
All right, next game is number 10 Miami, number 1 Kansas.
Let Jonathan go, but he can't talk as long. I got tired of the last game.
This game's kind of interesting to me because I think Kansas is probably, no offense to any other team, they're probably the best team left. When you talk about sheer numbers, who they have, coach, like all around, they're probably the best team remaining in the tournament. I think they edge out Duke by just a little bit. Duke's hasn't really been the best Duke team in this tournament. I think Kansas has. I think they are just the best all-around team. But you kind of have a Miami team that's kind of Cinderella themselves, right? So they can score. And that's what's going to happen. If they can keep up and knock down their shots, they can stay within the 6. Me personally, I think right now I'm going to lean on Kansas at -6. I think that they're the better team. They're the more complete team. And if you look at their bracket, it sets up for them to go to the championship game. All the other ones are gone. This is their year, and it's setting up that way. So for me, I'm going to lean on Kansas. I was on Providence last night. That was what you call a never should have cover because Providence shot 15% in the first half. Could not knock down a 3, and I bet that game thinking all Providence has to do is knock down a 3 or 2, and they can stay within that number. That wasn't happening. They got a late run in, but Kansas probably should have covered that game, and I was probably on the wrong side. Not going to make that mistake again. I think Kansas might be the play at -6.
My bracket has been fantastic. I don't know if anybody has followed my bracket on the Sports Loudmouths, but my Final Four was Duke, Baylor, Kansas, Villanova. 3 out of the 4 teams look like they're going there. Now, Villanova has to beat Houston, who's one of the hottest teams in the tournament. Kansas still has to get through Miami, knocked off Auburn, where everybody thought Auburn was a Final Four contender as well. Being that Duke has to get through Arkansas tonight, that's another scary situation too. So my bracket's been pretty much dead on. My question here going into this game for Kansas is, are they going to be able to stop a very hot Miami shooting team? Miami played very well defensively against an Auburn team. They stopped arguably the number 1 pick in the NBA draft in Smith. I think that going into this game, Kansas is going to have to shut down the shooting ability at the 3-point line from Miami. Make them beat them in the paint. I think Kansas is the better paint team. I think Kansas wins the game. I think it'll be very, very close. Don't bet on that. I think Kansas wins the game, get themselves into the Final Four.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Kansas is the better team. Miami's a 10 seed. That would make them Cinderella-ish, definitely. But in terms of the completeness of the team, we were talking about Duke and them. I think it's a toss-up, actually. I got nothing more to add. I'm taking Kansas and the -6.
Yeah, one of the things that I looked at is, and Miami has right now, of these teams in these games we're talking about, the second best field goal percentage. Duke is shooting 53.5. Miami's shooting 46.07. However, when I look at Kansas, got the best defense.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with what I do. I'm going to do the 6 bets a game on this bet. So what I'm doing is I'm taking Kansas. Kansas team total over 76.5, and I'm taking Miami's total under. Now, I know it's crazy, but I've hit it before. But remember, as long as I hit a couple of them, I don't do too bad. Remember what Wes has talked about. Getting some of that money back to be able to bet that St. Peter's game.
I'm sure Wes was doing that. That's for sure.